What's your take, Ashish? Do you concur with the view of Vijay? 650, around 700 is the target that Vijay is eyeing for SBI. In your view, where is SBI headed?
See, the overall undertone for the stock is definitely bullish. If you look at the technical perspective, it has been forming higher highs, higher lows, which indicates that the tone has been on the positive side. And given that overall there is a downtrend, but if you look at the PSU index, Union Bank, Bank of Baroda, SBI, all have been strongly outperforming. So that shows that the PSU banking space is going through a positive momentum right now. And SBI has definitely outperformed. If you look at since the low formed in March 2020 from around 180, 190 levels, if I'm not mistaken, the stock is now quoting around 544. That is a huge rise that we have already seen. So the short-term trend remains positive. It has managed to sustain above that 20 days average and the 50 days average also. And if you look at the RSI, it's going up, giving a positive crossover. So the undertone is positive. The short-term hurdle is around 560 levels, which is the channel resistance that you can see on the chart. If that is crossed with a momentum, I think yes, we can head towards the target of 650 that Vijay is saying. That is definitely possible, but we need to cross that 560 mark. The overall undertone remains bullish. Any dips from here towards the level of 530 can be used as a buying opportunity for an immediate target of 560. And if that is crossed, yes, we might be heading much higher from here on. See, the overall undertone for the stock is definitely bullish. If you look at the technical perspective, it has been forming higher highs, higher lows, which indicates that the tone has been on the positive side. And given that overall there is a downtrend, but if you look at the PSU index, Union Bank, Bank of Baroda, SBI, all have been strongly outperforming. So that shows that the PSU banking space is going through a positive momentum right now. And SBI has definitely outperformed. If you look at since the low formed in March 2020 from around 180, 190 levels, if I'm not mistaken, the stock is now quoting around 544. That is a huge rise that we have already seen. So the short-term trend remains positive. It has managed to sustain above that 20 days average and the 50 days average also. And if you look at the RSI, it's going up, giving a positive crossover. So the undertone is positive. The short-term hurdle is around 560 levels, which is the channel resistance that you can see on the chart. If that is crossed with a momentum, I think yes, we can head towards the target of 650 that Vijay is saying. That is definitely possible, but we need to cross that 560 mark. The overall undertone remains bullish. Any dips from here towards the level of 530 can be used as a buying opportunity for an immediate target of 560. And if that is crossed, yes, we might be heading much higher from here on.
All right, thanks so much for that view.
Sure. See, since she is a senior citizen, she should be aware that short-term trading can be risky, and she's comfortable with taking that risk. So, short-term strategy, I think one of the picks which we can clearly see has been an SBI. We have already talked about how the stock is faring out and how it can continue to outperform from here on as well. So, I think long positions can be created in SBI from short term with a target of 560 and maintain a stop loss of on the downside somewhere around 520 level. So that can be a strategy. Use any dips as a buying opportunity. That's one stock that you can keep a watch on. The next stock that has to be watched is we can clearly see GNFC, Gujarat Narmada Fertilizer Chemicals. There has been a huge move that we are seeing in today's session. So there is a good trending momentum there. So long positions can be created, but maintain a stop loss. Trade with strict stop loss somewhere around 480 levels on the downside, and possibly we can start seeing the stock inching towards the level of 540 on the upside. So these are the top two picks I would suggest her to trade, but maintain the stop loss that we have talked about.
All right, this one is coming from Saumitra Joshi. He wants a technical view on happiest minds and he wants to know of levels of which he can add on to some more positions in this particular counter. What's your take, Ashish? What sort of levels should one look at for happiest mind as entry point, and what sort of target one should keep in mind as well?
See, Happiest Mind has shown some kind of a consolidation and correction from the levels of 1500. The good part is he is not in the stock right now, but I think at the current level, he can start adding positions over here because we can clearly see it has retraced nearly around 38.2%. The support lies around 1050. So at the current levels and dips towards 1050, long positions can be created in Happiest Mind. And on the upside, the target possibly is 1450, provided he is keeping a time horizon of at least a 6 months or a more. Then 1450 can be the target that he can look forward to.
Okay, we've got a question coming in from Satya, and he's asking about HG Infra. Ashish, this one's also for you. I'm just trying to pull up the stock as we speak. It's trading at 641, up about 1.8% at this juncture. He's bought at levels of 650, he says, which is not too far away from the buy price. He's got a view of 6 months, and he's wondering whether 900 is on the cards. Is that too steep a target?
Absolutely, Alex, because we always remember you should not be aiming for something which is overly optimistic. I think 900 is something expecting too much. Had it been about 6 months back or a year back when we were seeing boom across the markets, I would have been optimistic about that. But given the scenario now where we are seeing consolidation phase and the equity market has already given nearly around 140% return from the low made in March 2020. So there is going to be consolidation. I'm not expecting it to go to 900 straight up from here in just 6 months of time. That's a possibility, but he has to extend his time horizon to at least a year or 1.5 years. Then we can expect that to happen. On the downside, the very important support is at 500 from where the stock bounced back on the upside. So hold on to the stock. I don't see any kind of a issue from holding on to the stock. But let's be realistic and set a first target of somewhere around 740 levels on the upside. Let's see, book some profits there, and then keep riding the trend using a trailing stop loss method. So that would be an ideal way to ride this stock. It's a buy right now.
All right. This one is coming in from Shailaja, and she wants to know whether she can buy Siemens and Godrej consumer products at current price for the shorter term. Either Siemens or GCPL, which one do you think, Ashish, that she should look at to buy currently for the short term?
See, if you look at Godrej Consumer, we can clearly see the FMCG space has been under pressure over short term. So the short term, from the short term trading perspective, I think Godrej Consumer might not give the returns that Siemens can possibly give. On one side, we can see infrastructure and capital goods are doing well. So I would prefer Siemens over short term as long as 2,200 is protected. For the target of 2,600, having said that, I'm not saying that Godrej Consumer is not a good pick, but relatively Siemens can outperform over short term. But if the time horizon is for say 6 months to 1 year or more, then possibly even Godrej Consumer Products can be a good bet.
Okay, we've got a special request coming in on YouTube, I believe, from Ami, asking us to pay tribute to Lata Mangeshkar. And I think a lot of us have, over the course of the weekend, in some form or the other, Cheryl, paid tribute to the great singer, the Nightingale of India. And at least in my home, we played music that she has created on loop over the course of the weekend. So I think all of us have a very special place in our hearts for Lataji, and we miss her dearly. Let's take the next question. We've got Santosh Gore, who's asking a question on Allied Digital. This is also a short-term query, so I'll come to you, Ashish, on the charts. How does it look for 1 year?
Digital, if I understand correctly, is quoting somewhere around 126, 127 level. The stock has shown a run up from around 20 to the levels of 170. That's a huge run up. And from 170, we are seeing a short term correction. So over near term, I think it's in a downtrend. It can go towards the levels of 110, but only a move back above that 140 mark will suggest that it's going to show some kind of a pullback. So I would recommend that if the person is still holding, use 110 as a stop loss. If it manages to cross that 140 level, then possibly we can head towards 160. So let's keep a watch on 140 for short term and keep a stop loss at 110 for existing holdings.
Right. And
See, if I would first suggest that if the time horizon is 1 to 2 years, you should not be bothered much about what's happening in just past 6 months of time, and it especially during the phase when we can see majority of the auto stocks have corrected sharply. So in this kind of a scenario, I would definitely recommend him to continue to hold on to the stock. It has done exceptionally well. There has been a huge rise that we saw, and post that rise, there is obviously some kind of consolidation expected, which we are seeing currently. From 2 years perspective, I am optimistic that the that escorts can even touch 2,300 levels on the upside, and as long as 1,700 is protected, so that is the support. It's far away, but that's the support on downside. I think 2,300 can be held. So hold on to the stock for now and expect it to go up even beyond 2000 very soon.
Right. This one is from KR Balan. Wants to know whether it's good time to buy GMDC and Schneider Electrics at current market price for the short to medium term, saying that Schneider is a multinational company and GMDC has huge reserves. Either GMDC or Schneider Electrics, which one would you advise Mr. Balan to take entry into currently, Ashish?
Is Gujarat Mineral Development Corporation. The stock, I think, is quoting around 134 levels from here, and there has been a huge rise. The stock has run up from 70 to 140, nearly more than 100% return in just what, a few months of time. Not even few months, few weeks, I would say. So entering now would be risky bet, I would suggest. But nevertheless, it's an outperformer. So use any dips towards that 125 level as a buying opportunity. Then maintain a stop loss around 116, which is around that 10 days moving average. So 116 is a stop. Use 125 as a dips as a buying opportunity for the target of 150 on the upside. As far as Schneider electric infrastructure is concerned, I don't think that stock has done anything. It has continued to be moving in a lackluster fashion, overlapping down move, no clear trend. So avoid this stock for now. I would prefer Gujarat GMDC on buying on dip. Absolutely. I think he has done fantastic because not stuck at the higher levels like many would have bought around 2400, but buy on dips and buying at the current support levels. Because if you look at the chart from March to June of last year, we can clearly see this was the range in which it was trading and now bouncing back exactly from that range. So that's an excellent entry, I would suggest. Hold on, and the time horizon is long term. If you look at the real estate space and the sector, that has done exceptionally well. The entire space has been on a and Uppo, and I think Godrej Properties at this level is a good buy. Hold on from here on. We can expect a target of somewhere around 2200 eventually, and maybe higher from there. And on the downside, I think 1300 is a very important support, so that should remain intact. Yes, Trident looks positive. The overall trend is up. One can initiate a buy for a target of around 72 levels and support lying around 56. Yes, absolutely. It's breaking out the previous pivot high, which was somewhere around 140. It's just trading above that. I think there is a positive breakout. Volumes are picking up. So current levels, one can initiate buy for a target of 160, stop loss 120.
Specialty restaurants. This is a question coming in from Alma D'Souza. She's wondering whether to hold or to sell at this juncture. This one's for you, Ashish.
Specialty restaurant gave a very strong breakout above 110. One can book partial profits at current levels and continue to trail, remaining with a stop loss of 110. And I think it can head towards the target of 130.